Hi all, I'm Swathi Joshi and welcome to the closing keynote panel. For the next 50 minutes or so, we'll chat about lessons learned on our way to being VP CISO of security. We're going to discuss two main topics. For the first 20 minutes, we'll talk about transitioning to CISO. Then we'll talk about what it means to be a CISO, head of security, VP, whatever the title might be. And then, if you're working in that capacity, what does it mean? That's the second part of our session. So I want to kick it off with intros. I'm Swathi Joshi. I'm the VP of SaaS Cloud Security at Oracle. Each panelist, will you tell us, what you're responsible for, scope and function, and maybe give us one constructive feedback you got as a CISO. And do you want to kick us off?
Yes, thank you. Thanks, Swathi. Thanks, everyone. Hi, so my name is Anne Hardy, and I'm the CISO at Talent. We are a data integration company. I've been the CISO at Talent for almost 2 years. So I joined Talent in January 2020, just before COVID. So it's been an interesting journey. My scope is product security, internal security, data security, audit and compliance, and also product security management. So something interesting feedback I got as a CISO. What interesting feedback did I get as CISO?
You're that good, Anne.
No, I got a lot of feedback. No, it just, I think, maybe an interesting, I'm not sure that's feedback, but interesting insight is that being a CISO nowadays is not so much about being technical, but being able to sell security internally and being very good at internal marketing. So it was definitely learning for me. So I think it's just a combined feedback that I got by just being on the job. So
great. Yeah. Nancy, do you want to go next?
Absolutely. So thank you for having me. My name is Nancy Hunter. I am the VP CISO and Data Privacy Officer at the Federal Reserve Bank of Philadelphia. I always need to give a disclaimer that being a Federal Reserve employee, that all of these comments are my comments and my thoughts, and they are not reflective of the Federal Reserve Bank of Philadelphia, the Federal Reserve System, or the Board of Governors. So that out of the way. I have been at the Federal Reserve for 4 years, having come from a long career in banking and financial services. And I do really like it at the Fed. The one piece of constructive criticism that was given to me as a CISO is to have honesty in all things in all ways. So sometimes it's difficult to be honest, and sometimes you have to be careful about what you disclose and how, but don't ever start a lie because it's really hard to follow up and it's hard to remember. So just honesty in all things and always.
That's awesome. Lena, welcome.
Hi.
Diva, hi. Do you want to go next with intros?
Sure. So I'm the Global CISO at MongoDB. Our mission is to reduce information risk for MongoDB, to protect our user community and maintain trust in MongoDB products and services. And one piece of constructive criticism that I got, and I'm not really good at taking criticism, is I'm working on that, is be true to myself. There's no point in trying to act like a male CISO, as I'm not that. I worked in a lot of male-dominated industries, trading floors, fintech, the power industry, shipyards. And so I did find myself being a bit of a chameleon. And now at the age of 54, I'm just being me. I'm too old for that.
Oh, love it. And I think, I don't know, it's hard, right? Like taking constructive feedback in itself is definitely,
yes,
it's a learning thing for everyone. It's like one of those things like communication.
Yep.
There's this constant improvement about communicating better.
Yep.
Olivia.
Hi, everyone. I'm really excited to be here. My name's Olivia. I am the CISO and the Vice President of IT and Security at Amplitude. which is the market-leading product analytics company, digital optimization platform. So we have a very rapidly growing company, and it's an exciting time to be here. Areas that I oversee include, of course, IT, and user enablement, but also product security, and then protecting and safeguarding our customers, our shareholders. We just went public, which is very exciting, our employees, and of course our vendors as well. So I think I would say my favorite piece of advice that I got a long time ago was the line, "You never expect the Muppets." And I think that's from a British sitcom from many years ago. But to me, security is you wake up in the morning and, the Muppets may show up that day. You never expect the Muppets. So you really can't be surprised by anything. You just got to go with where the day takes you, what hits you that day, and just go with the punches.
Awesome. Yeah. All incredible kind of constructive feedback, criticism, insights, whatever you want to call it. So our first segment is going to be for about 20 minutes talking about transitioning into the role that all of you all are in now. We have this wide variety of different types of products and government in various ecosystems and technologies. I think this will be quite interesting to our audience. What was the biggest challenge getting to where you are now? It might be technical, personal, not knowing a specific domain, managing a budget, could be any. So what was the biggest challenge getting to the position that you're now? Nancy, kick us off.
Gladly. So my biggest challenge was that I always did a good job with my job. I'll fully admit I came to work every day ready to do a good job. But I had my head down all of the time. And I wasn't really focused on making sure other people knew I was doing a good job, not necessarily promoting myself, but I didn't have sponsors. I didn't think about mentors, and I didn't really get my name out there so that people, when they saw those accomplishments, recognized them as mine, which meant I wasn't moving as quickly as I wanted to move. I was getting bigger jobs, but not at the pace I wanted to get them because I was rating exceeds all of the time. So the one thing I learned for myself, which was difficult, was to lift your head, to look around you, to make connections, to talk positively about your team and what they've been able to accomplish, but that helps people understand the breadth and scope of what you're working on and why it's important to the organization. You can be your own best salesperson for yourself and your team.
Awesome. Anne?
Yeah, so for me, I wanted to maybe take the perspective of the challenges that brought me, to this position. CISO is new to me. I've been a CISO for 3 years. I've done many other things before, mostly technical. I would say, technology management in R&D organizations, and created my own company as well. And it was, I think, the biggest challenge for me before I came to where I am is first realize that security was a good job for me. It's hard to realize what it is before you do it. I think it's a very different job than anything else, I believe.
Yeah.
It's very transversal. You have to work with everyone. You have to learn to put yourself in the shoes of everyone and understand how to support them, how to not be too much in their way, right? Because they tend to see you as the police otherwise, and they don't want to work with you. So you're in this position where it's very tricky. Yeah. And actually, the more I've been doing this job, the more I realize that having done many different things before is actually super helpful for me. And even though it was a challenge for me to just say, to accept that it was a good job for me, it took me a while to realize, actually it was a very good decision. So I think, definitely. I think that was the biggest challenge for me, was just to come to this realization that, it's a very particular job that you have to learn to know to love it.
Yes. And I think exactly to your point of, security, we should be a business enabler, but how to do that, like working with partners and working in collaboration, it's working with all teams, and not having this, you bring in the hammer down, right? Like sometimes we have to say incident or a crisis or a specific situation, but to your point, like if that's the default mode.
And also accepting as an engineer, it's easy to also think about things that are working or not working. In security, you never know, right? You have to always find this balance where it's never perfect, right? If it's perfect, you cannot do anything. And also, it was very challenging to get into this job where if people ask you, are we safe? You cannot really say we are safe. Never, right? You can only say, to a certain degree, I think we're good enough, right? But good enough is very hard for people that have learned to do more like math or technical things to accept. Anyway,
and
we can talk more about that after.
And you're right, it's also hard in security, right? Like, you're doing a good job. Like, great, you're doing your job, right? Like if there is no news, that means we're doing great. But we also know how hard it is. I think you mentioned something, Lena, and I wanna pick up on that in your intro. Are there ways in which, say, your identity, gender, background impacted your growth? What are maybe certain things that helped or hurt? After Lena, I want to hear about that from Olivia, you as well.
So I don't know how much this will resonate because this is primarily a US audience. As you can tell, I'm Scottish. But being a Scottish female in an English male world, it really should have held me back. I left school at 16. I had to get a job, help feed my family and help my mum. And I think the opposite thing happened. I worked twice as hard. I prepared twice as hard. I said yes to every project going. I walked into the office one Monday and the boss said, "Who wants to go to Japan?" I'm like, "Me, I'll go." How long for? Couldn't speak Japanese, no idea what he wanted me to do. But I went and it was awesome fun. 3 days later, I was on a plane to Japan for 6 weeks. And I showed them that I could do the job with bells on. And then I kind of outworked my managers, got their jobs. And then once I became a manager, I started to seek out women and other underrepresented groups that I felt were being held back. And then I propelled them forward. So it kind of helped being a female and being the underdog because nobody was expecting me to do what I did. So it's kind of fun.
Yeah. Use that absolutely, as a positive and to your advantage, right? Like we have the cards that we are dealt with, right?
Yeah. If you have nothing to lose, you just keep going ahead. Keep going forward.
That's right. Olivia, your comments?
I think, I'd like to reinforce what Lena said. This is not an easy industry if you look or act different than the majority of people in this industry. And that's white, middle-aged male. It's just one of those industries. But I think it's critical to realize what power you have as a female. I'm only going to speak as a female because that's all I know. As a female in this industry, where if you look at yourself, and of course it's very stereotypical to talk about the typical female traits that women have, but to some degree, it's pretty true. I mean, women do tend to be very well organized and communicate well and share and like to connect, and we like to collaborate. And there's many other skills that women inherently have. Now, I'm not saying men don't have these skills, but I'm saying that look at yourself and where you truly excel and shine, because you're never going to be able to be someone else. You have to be yourself. So that being said, it's also critical to leverage those skills to get yourself ahead and get respect and earn the respect. A trend that I'm very disturbed by, that I've been seeing over the past few years, is this trend of being antagonistic towards men because they're the majority. And you're never going to get anywhere by downgrading and putting down anybody else. You have to rise yourself up. And there's this growing resentment towards men, white men, because they're the majority. Just know, to get ahead in an industry where the majority is male, you need to learn how to play well in the sandbox with the majority. It's, that's what it is. And if you have this resentment towards the majority and putting down other people, you're not going to make it very far. And I just want to close by saying there are substantial numbers of men in this industry who do support women and people of other identities. And they're out there. So if you feel this resentment towards, the men in general, that's really unfair by putting everybody in one big group.
Yeah.
So look for allies in the majority, but also, as Lena said, other women like you.
Yeah. And how to be inclusive without being exclusive, right?
Right.
I think that's well said. Shifting gears a little bit, we talked about the challenges and backgrounds. One of the things I realized as I got on my own journey of okay, do I want to lead a broad security program one day or not, or what type of a program? There are different types of CISOs and there are different types of CISO roles, right? And I hadn't realized that before this journey. So how important is it to be technical in each of your roles? And, there is this narrative sometimes about women not being technical enough. Can we talk a little bit about, how important is it to be technical in your role, Nancy?
Sure. So I will first start by saying I've always been an outlier. I'm a Black female. I was a math major in college. I mean, you don't get any more bizarre in that sense, that outside of the mainstream. I used to be technical. So I was an application developer when I started. I wrote in a lot of different languages, and I was a person that you would bring in if you wanted something technically done. I don't believe in this role that to be a CISO that you have to be deeply technical. I do believe that you can't let people pull the wool over your eyes. So you have to be technical enough to know when it is not the truth or when someone is swaying you in the wrong direction. But I don't have to go in and change parameters on some item to get something done. I do have to know how to ask people to do that. I do have to know how to partner with the business. I do have to know how to get people to instill trust in me. I do have to know how to speak to my board and how to speak to our senior leadership. I do have to know how to hire good people so that they support me. But in terms of the technical skills that I use today, I don't use a lot of technical skills. I use a lot of the softer skills, and I'm grateful for the technical skills that I have so that you can't send me down a path that's not true.
Mm-hmm. Right. Before I kind of move to Olivia, quick announcement to the audience. Hey, if y'all have some burning questions, please put them in chat. So I'll do my best to kind of weave that into our discussion here as we're chugging along. Olivia, over to you.
Yes, I agree with everything Nancy said. I don't want to take up time
reiterating
everything she said. So whatever she said, I'll take credit for that as well. But I look at myself where I graduated with women's studies. I was such a terrible student. It's a whole long story, another day, how I even got through college. My dad was a professor there, so. But I graduated in women's studies, non-technical background. I got thrown into it. and I learned it. And so I look for people who have that drive and enthusiasm. I don't look necessarily for the people who have the tech skills unless I'm hiring for a very, very specific tech skill, like application security. I mean, that's a specific skill. I don't care if you graduated, in moon cratering. I don't care. I mean, and to the point where somebody had to show me how to connect my iPod to my to my laptop. I'm that non-technical. So it's everything Nancy said, but just one thing in addition to that, you have to learn how to trust your gut. Because yes, when you look at a pen test report and you go, they have a low finding, but that should be a critical finding, right? So that's the technical knowledge that you pick up along the way or you learn. But sometimes, actually a lot of times, you see something or you hear something. Oh, hi, Selena. Oh, yeah, that's my little marshmallow. Sorry. And so you hear something and you're like, there's like the spidey sense that goes off. And I think all of us on this call have this like, and you go, wait a minute. I don't quite understand all that gibberish that you just said, but something about it is not making sense to me. And my gut is telling me that there's something off and I need to dig into this further. So that's critically important. And the only way you can learn how to do that is to trust yourself. You are a lot smarter. You know a lot more. You're more accomplished than you think you are. So if your gut is saying something to you or your spidey sense is going off, trust it.
Yeah.
And people will try to talk you out of it. Trust me, they will.
Yeah.
Trust your gut.
There's a lot of chatter about, and I know there was also a talk here at Day of Security about executive presence. So I'd love to know, how did you all build it? Is that even a thing? What is executive presence? How did you all build it, Lena?
So I think it is a thing. I don't even know that I would call it executive presence. I think I would just call it confidence in the presence of the C-suite or the board. And to me, to get that confidence, I make sure I prepare for meetings. I make sure that I've talked to the board in advance that, I'm not going to give them information that's not, it's not important to them. And as long as I know that I can walk into the room knowing that myself and my staff are prepared, and, even if we get peppered by 8 members of the board on 8 different topics, we know, we go through a lot of dry runs. We know what we're going to talk about. That to me is executive presence, just being successful in talking to your board in a meaningful way, but with confidence, and they know that you've prepared for this. And it doesn't mean you have a 60-slide deck. It just means you're prepared to answer any question they can throw at you. And sometimes the answer is, you know what, I don't know the answer to that today, but let me get back to you tomorrow.
Sure. Yeah. Anne?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. The key for me is when you speak with executives is really to understand what their objectives and are, what is really on their mind. Understanding also that they don't have, of course they have more time for securities than ever, right? Everybody talks about it, but they don't have much time and they don't need to go into the details of everything. So staying at the level that is good for them to know without knowing everything. It's difficult. And I think, I agree with Lena that having this confidence to state the facts and also give them some assurance that you're taking care of things, you're responsible in some ways for making sure that you're bridging what they want with what you're doing internally is critical. And so I'm not sure that I've really built some sort of executive presence, but I think if you really approach your meetings with executives as something serious that you prepare for, that you know exactly what they want, and you deliver with clear communication, I think you probably have a lot of what you need already to be successful with them.
Yeah. And I think that bridging that gap, right? Like that's a big role. that we as executives play. Good question from the audience. What level of support did you all have in growing your careers? I think from either from leaders, managers, mentors, and sponsors. Nancy, do you want to talk about this a bit?
Sure. I didn't feel like I had a whole lot of support. I'll tell you, I am grateful for every piece I got, but until I did that, look my head up, I didn't start to go out and seek my own mentors and actually talk to people about sponsorship for myself, because that sponsorship is really what moves the dial. It means that somebody goes into a room and they're advocating for you. So I would say early in my career, I wish I had more support. I always have my family and all that stuff, but I wish I had more support in my work. And I, like Lena, worked hard. I did whatever I needed to do. I jumped into all the assignments. I took all the stuff. But until I started to look up and go, you know what? I really feel like a mentor could be helpful. And not just one. I had a bunch of mentors for a bunch of different things. I don't feel like I got the support that I needed until I started to look for that myself.
Sure. Yeah. Kind of moving on to the next part of our agenda about being in this role and what it is to take on such responsibility and scope. I guess, what is the one hardest thing about, I'm sure there are many, so I won't add specific qualifiers. What is the hardest thing about being a CISO, Olivia?
Yeah, I don't mean offense to anybody, but you got to be slightly nuts to enjoy this job. I think that it's every minute, sometimes it feels like something new. There is literally so much coming at you every second of the day. You've got legal, your privacy, marketing, your own team. Somebody from Russia is doing something weird. Some user is doing something weird. And the emails and we use Slack, the emails, the Slack, there's constant shiny objects. And so you have to manage your time and schedule extremely tightly. But and most of the CISOs I know, we enjoy it for some very strange reason. And I can't figure out what that reason is, but we really, really enjoy it.
Yes.
But you certainly have to be of a certain temperament.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, certain temperament, managing your schedule, managing sort of ongoing fires, prioritizing tasks. That's what I'm hearing from you too. Yeah. Lena, what's the hardest thing being a CISO?
So everything that Olivia said with bells on, plus, just keeping my team engaged is really important to me. I want them to be happy in their work. I don't want the great exodus that's happening to happen to me. And so I need to try and understand their technical challenges, not to get deep in the weeds, because that's just not helpful, but be able to have that conversation with them that shows that I appreciate their technical abilities, because they are extremely technical. And then I can offer that constructive feedback on their proposed solutions. I'm not just a yes/no person. It's like, like Olivia said, we've got this radar that goes up. It's like, is that BS or not? So, it's really important trying to get your BS-ometer working. And that can be hard. And then, of course, everything else that's thrown at you on a daily basis that you never know what's going to happen when you're waking up. Yep.
Right. Every year or every couple of years is usually a trend in security, right? Like, is it, endpoint detection and response, zero trust, I could kind of go on. What are some of the topics that the security industry does not talk enough? What are some of the topics that we don't have enough conversations for all? So we'll do this, I'll go through, I would like to hear from everyone on this. Nancy?
Sure. I think a topic that we don't talk about are the diversity of roles in security. It is not one size fits all. It is not that everybody is technical. It is not that everybody needs to do penetration testing. There's a huge diversity of roles. And within that, we don't talk about how skills are transferable from other industries into security, because there are things that people do well that will translate very nicely, especially women. We don't open ourselves up to apply for those kinds of jobs because we don't think we can do it, or we don't meet 99% of the requirements. Stop, look at what you can do, and figure out how it translates. And I would love the security world to begin to look at the breadth of the jobs and all the different skills that can bring people into them.
Mm-hmm. Anne?
Yeah, I think there are a few things that, well, at this point we don't talk enough about. One of them is, we realize in the industry of my company, of course, data is a big topic. We've tended to, in the past, really to think about security as protecting physical things, right? Then it became application and software, and now data is really the grail. I mean, the thing that we really need to be careful with. And I think it's a difficult topic, right? Because I mean, data it's invisible. It's things you can easily copy and things like that. So I think there is not much going on right now in data security governance, or the intersections of data privacy, data security, or data governance, things like that. So I mean, people that really. So I think this is a big world that we tend to not talk about enough at this point. I mean, we're still very much in the interested by some of. I mean, think about endpoints. I mean, what you talked about endpoint or network security, zero trust, and things like that, which are, I mean, not. I don't want to say all topics, but there are topics that I don't think there is so much to discover, but I mean, discovering things that are going to help us to deal with data protection and data privacy rules and regulations is really the next border, or the next whatever world.
Frontier. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Next frontier. Yeah. Thank you.
Yes. Olivia?
I think one area is that people underestimate why people act the way they do. And just because they do something bad or wrong doesn't mean they're a bad person. And the people over in China, Russia, all these countries that are attacking us, nation states, those are people. And they're doing it because they live in that country, they're young, they're trained en masse. And I think it's important when you look at your own company, and we always talk about how employees are the weakest link, and we always talk about how important it is to do security awareness training and all that good stuff. It's what everything kind of misses is people do certain things because they're stressed, they're angry, they're just too busy. They send something confidential over email without encrypting it, just to get it done. So I think a key something that's missed is when you look at insider threat risk, is to truly look at, if I were angry or rushed, what damage could I possibly do, rather than doing blanket security awareness training for everybody and then calling it a day for another year, which some companies like to do, because nobody likes security awareness training. I think it's important to kind of look at it from that perspective.
Yeah, motivations and empathy. Yeah.
I mean, for example, holiday time is coming, and a lot of families don't have money.
Yeah. Somebody
wants to buy great presents for their family, and they feel that they have the opportunity to do that by stealing some information or reselling customer data. People act in very odd ways. So you have to think from that perspective to protect your
motivations. Yeah.
Lena?
So I love all these points of view. Mine's is a wee bit more dry. So my answer to what topic does the security industry not talk about was sharing information with others, and especially government agencies.
Yes.
No disrespect to Nancy. I worked for local government for 17 years, and it was just a big DevNob bucket. We would give information to our wonderful friends in the 3-letter agencies and hear nothing back. And I'm seeing the executive order, the recent President Biden EO come out, and a big chunk of that is sharing information and, let's all sing Kumbaya and tell everyone our secrets. So it's like, remember the PMO hack that happened 10 years ago and we sold all my information to China, or China got my information and sold it on? It's like, this is like the big dirty secret of security for me. We want everyone to work together, but how do we get people to trust each other? So
yes, and how do we do it efficiently?
Yeah.
Absolutely. When I was kind of putting this panel together, one of the questions I was chatting with a colleague, and one of the questions raised was maybe being a CISO, and I know one of you all made this comment of maybe it's not the right thing for me. Maybe that's not the career path that I wanna get on. So why maybe being a CISO may not be the right thing for you? Any insights to share there, Anne?
Well, to go back to something Olivia said earlier, if you like to have a well-planned day ahead of you, that's not the right job for you, because your work is dealing with change and information coming to you all the time, right? So you have to be very agile and change priorities pretty much. I don't want to say all the time, but very often, and really reprioritizing things and just. If you don't like change, this is not the job. Yeah. If you love things that are never the same, this is perfect. I love the job for that reason, right? Because every day is different. There is never a dull moment in security and privacy. This is definitely an evolving place to be in, much more than a lot of other domains. So, so if you love that and you love to work with people and just very different types of people and help, supporting them in addressing some hard challenges, it's really a good place to be in.
Awesome. Nancy?
Sure. So I think the days of being the police officer, security person are over. So if you are somebody who wants to say, no, just because you can, this is not the right job. You should be willing and able to partner with people and to really want the best for your business. Not just check off the box and get metrics done, but truly want the best for your business to grow. So this is not the right job for you if you don't want to talk to people, if you don't want to be a partner, if you don't want to work together collaboratively to build something for your business. Go to something else. There's lots of other jobs.
Yes. Lena?
So this reminds me of a conversation I had just a couple of weeks ago with someone who was looking at a CISO job, and they asked for my opinion on the role, and I gave them it. And they said, could you give me an idea of, what does your calendar look like in general? So I looked at my calendar and I said, well, let me see. I've got an M&A meeting. Oh, I've got 2 meetings with customers abroad, sales meeting, 2 skip levels, and all hands, and went through 3 or 4 other things. Yes. And they said, oh, that's not bad, and that's just for a week. I said, oh no, that's today. And they're like, oh, okay. And they kind of, because it was on Zoom, you could have seen them going, yeah, I'm going back to what I was doing. So this is not the 9 to 5. The hackers don't sign off at 5 p.m. Eastern time on Friday and just give you the weekend off. The bad stuff is going to happen at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday when nobody else is available to help. But at the end of the day, you don't get many thank yous when your phone goes, it's going to be bad news. But when you've got a team like I do that has low attrition, that loves what they do, and I genuinely love what I do, and we're evangelists for our company, what's not to love? So I love doing it.
That's right. I know we are coming to the end of our time. Hard to believe. I feel like I could keep chatting away. Olivia, to close us out, what advice would you give to an up-and-coming CISO? What are maybe top 2 things they should keep in mind?
be open, and enjoy the ride. I mean, like we were just saying, if you're not the type of person who, if you like structure, if you're a type of person who says no, no, no all the time, you're not going to like it. But look for allies. There are a lot out there. This is a fun job. I don't think I could ever do anything else. Just go for it.
Yeah.
Go do it.
Yeah. Awesome. Everyone, thank you so much for your time, sharing the insights and sharing your journey, and also some of the most relevant topics here, so that people can either get ready for this role, or figure out, okay, what's next for me. There are many paths here. So thanks so much, everyone. Amazing session.
Thank
you.
Thank you.